All right, so today we're going to be going over our transformation notes. So just a quick review of how we plot coordinates. Coordinates are written in ordered pairs with x and then y. So for example, on my coordinate plane, if I want to plot the point 2, 3, I always start at the origin, and then I need to move 1, 2 spots to the right, because it's positive, and then 3 spots up because it's also positive, and that would be my point. So remember, we always go left and right first, and then up and down second, and we're going to need that throughout our lesson today. So our first transformation that we're going to go over is called a translation. And I actually put a clue in the word there that SL is a clue that our key word is slide. You can see that there's an SL in that word as well. So we've got a shortcut that's going to help us figure out our answers here. Our shortcut is that we combine the coordinate. Make sure you're filling this in. So combine the coordinate and whatever your new change is going to be. And that'll make sense in just a moment. So we have some key words that are going to help us. With X, they always use left and right. So right would be adding, and left would be subtracting. While our y coordinates, they use up and down. So up is going to be adding, and down will be subtracting. And that makes sense because our positives are to the right and up on our coordinate plane, and our negatives are to the left and down. So they're the same key words there. So I've got an example here. I've got a figure ABCD, a rectangle, and it says to translate ABCD to A, and then this is a new vocabulary word, this little apostrophe here, we say the word prime. So this is A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. So that just means that we're going to be moving all of those 4 points up 3 and left 5. So before we figure out anything, let's just figure out where A, B, C, and D are. So A, I'm going right 1 and then up 3. So my coordinate is a positive 1, positive 3. So I'm just going to keep going, filling in B, C, and D. B is at 4, 3. It went right 4 and then up 3. C is at 1, 1, and D is at 4, 1. So now I'm ready to go ahead and use those directions here. It said to go up 3. And remember, anytime we use up or down, that's talking about our y coordinate. And then left 5. Remember, right and left is talking about our x coordinate. And they were actually being a little bit tricky here because they told us the y directions first, even though, remember, our coordinates, we do x and then y. So I'm going to show my math here. Remember, going up is going to add and left is going to be subtract. So I'm going to write that as well. So our x coordinate comes first. My x coordinate, I started out with 1. And then I need to subtract, because it says left, 3. So 1 minus 5, I'm showing my work here. And that's going to give me an answer of negative 4. So A prime's x coordinate is negative 4. And then the y, I'm going to start out with 3 and add 3, because it says up 3. And that's going to be 6 for my y coordinate. So I'm going to just keep on going, filling that out. So B, I started at 4, and again, I'm going to subtract 5. Then I'm going to do 3 plus 3. That's going to give me a negative 1, 6. Then I've got 1, subtract 5 again, and then 1, add 3. That's going to give me 4 over here, and negative 4 over here. And then I've got 4 minus 5 is a negative 1, and 1 plus 3 is a positive 4. And as you can see, I keep using the exact same rule. I subtracted 5 every single time, and I added 3 every single time. So I used the same rule because it told me up 3 and left 5. Alright, so now I'm ready to go ahead and plot my new coordinates. So I'm going to take each one of these on the right here, A prime, B prime, all those with those little apostrophes, and I'm going to go ahead and graph them on my coordinate plane. So A was at -4, +6. It looks, my numbers are hard to read, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's my A prime. And then B prime is going to be -1, +6. And remember, we always want to label our points. C prime is at -4, +4. And D prime is at -1, +4. Go ahead and connect our dots, and we've got our new figure. So every single one of those points, I moved up 3 and left 5. Our next transformation that we're going to talk about is reflection. And again, I gave you a little clue. This FL is our clue that we are going to flip the figure. You can see that it starts with FL. Reflection, FL, flip, FL. So my shortcut here is that my X, if we're flipping over the X axis, the X is going to stay exactly the same. And the Y is going to turn into its opposite. And I'm using that negative sign to show that it's going to be the opposite here. So make sure you write yourself those notes. Now if we're flipping over the Y axis, it's going to be the opposite. Our X is going to be turned to opposite, and our Y is going to stay exactly the same. So again, I'm going to just write those notes. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like in our shape here. So my first thing here says to flip over, reflect ABC to A prime, B prime, C prime over the X axis. So this is just like a mirror. And it makes sense that if it's flipping over the X axis, that the X is going to stay exactly the same, because it's not going to move up and down. It is going to move up and down, not left and right. So let's figure out where A, B, and C are. It looks like A is at -5, 7. B is at -2, 4. And C is at -5, 4. And that's going to be true down here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy those down so we can save time a little later. All right. So that first example, it says to reflect ABC over the x-axis to find that single prime. So remember, our x-axis is that horizontal line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that over just to make it extra clear in my notes. So remember, x-axis, my x stays exactly the same. So all of my first coordinates here, -5, -2, and -5, are going to stay the same, but my b's are going to turn to their opposite. So the opposite of 7 is a -7, the opposite of 4 is a -4, and the opposite of 4 again is a -4. So if we're flipping over the x-axis, they're going to turn to the opposites for the second coordinates. So A prime is going to be at -5, -7. B prime is at -2, -4. And C prime is at -5, -4. Go ahead and connect those dots. And we have A prime, B prime, C prime. You can see that it's almost like that shape looks at the x-axis like a mirror. So it was 4 spots away from the x-axis, now it's 4 spots away from the x-axis on the other side. Alright, let's go ahead and go over the y-axis now. If we're flipping over the y-axis, I'm going to use my other shortcut. So my y is going to stay the same. So in this case, the 7, 4, and 4 are going to stay the same. But my x is going to turn to the opposite. So the opposite of -5 is a +5. The opposite of -2 is a +2, and again a +5 here. So as I'm showing this coordinates, now it's almost going to look at the y-axis like my mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and show that. So let's go ahead and plot these. So 5, +7. And this time you can see that there's 2 apostrophes. We would say that as a double prime. I know my marker isn't the greatest here. but we'll do our best. Alright, so you can see that just changing that one word to reflect over the x-axis or to reflect over the y-axis really changes what my end product ends up looking like. So we've got to be extra careful about that piece.